This is my interpretation of Scorpio Sun conjunct Moon. Again, this is a natal placement that I have, and so I'll be speaking predominantly from experience. I think a lot of the characteristics described generally for Scorpio are magnified with this placement. Things such as intensity, secrecy, although I tend to lean more towards privacy over secrecy, depth, transformation. When the sun is conjunct the moon, there tends to be a very committed reaction to something. There's not much time in between thinking, making a decision and completing it. There's less of this internal dialogue of should I do this, should I do that, what are the consequences. When the sun is conjunct the moon, the reactions are fairly instant, and it can come across as if you haven't really considered things or thought things through. But I think it happens at a much faster rate when these two, I'll call them planets, are connected natally. I find that there's an unpredictability about this placement. People find it very, very difficult to get to know you well. It can take a long time, and you can completely surprise people with the direction that you change to, or a decision that you've made, or maybe even changing your mind on something that before you were so adamant about. The privacy is pretty intense. The need for emotional privacy over things that you don't even need to be that private about, whether it be your opinion on something, maybe just not wanting to be around people in public, depending where the house placement is. Mine are in the 6th house, so I tend to be incredibly private about all things to do with health, work, anything to do with the lines of service, healing, day-to-day activities. I tend to be very, very private about the process that I use in which to get things done, which again can be quite mysterious to people. They wonder, well, how on earth did you achieve that? Because of the privacy surrounding that process, not allowing people to see that. The sun and the moon together, especially in Scorpio, the emotions can be very volatile, but private at the same time. So people may not actually know what you're experiencing. They might not be able to read you. You might not be able to read yourself. The depth is so intense that when you finally do get to the top of your experience of that emotion, you can often wonder yourself how long that it's been there for it to come up so violently. Need for isolation and privacy. I don't really consider Scorpio to be a highly sexual sign. I consider it to be a sign of merging. They don't do things by half measure, so when the sun and the moon are here, if you're connecting with someone, you want to connect with them on every level. Molecular level, not just the person's soul, body, mind, beyond. And so it can take a long time to get close to someone because they will only meet you as far as they have met themselves. So it can often feel like you're having a lot of superficial relationships with people, but to them, they can see you as being an incredible friend or a life partner, or because they don't fully understand that you have got so many more levels that you could go down to or up to, that you still don't know them, even though they think they know you quite well. It's difficult to explain. But I've had this before where I've been in relationships where I've thought, okay, this isn't going anywhere because this person can't go any deeper. But they've got such a strong bond because of the level that we have gone to is further than they have before, because they've now been exposed to a potential different way of seeing things. It's a double-edged sword though, because you never really have enough time to fully get to know people, and not everybody wants to go to that depth. But the problem with Scorpio is you just can't not do that. It's just part of who you are. It's part of how you are. So finding ways to channel that into your life is so important, whether that's becoming an expert in your field or myopic focus on a hobby or a pastime, where you can just get lost in the layers and layers of study or practice or whatever it might be. So you're not expecting that from other people that maybe can't and don't want to go to the levels that you want to or can go to. It will save you a lot of heartache and a lot of pain. Ultimately, I don't know how dark or how high this combination can get because of its privacy and secrecy. Someone with this placement is probably not going to be that vocal about these things, even if they come across, maybe if they've got an air rising sign like I do, as communicative and quite open. You won't be seeing the whole thing. You won't be getting the whole truth. You won't be getting the multiple layers. And so when trying to find out about this placement through research or personal experience, you're still only really ever going to be getting a percentage of the capacity for the depth.